Here we're going to look at how quadratic algebra can be used to solve some real life worded kind of questions, some applications. So here's an example where we know about a rectangle and it's got an area that has to be 28 metres squared. I know that the length is 3 metres more than the width. Our question is if we can find the dimensions of the rectangle. First thing you should always do is draw up a picture to try to get some idea of what's going on. So here's my rectangle and I know that the area is 28 metres squared. I know that the length and the width, I know something about the length and the width. The length is 3 metres more than the width. This is the longest side, so let's call that length. Let's call that one width. I know the area, which I find by doing length times width, is fixed at 28. Let's try to put this sentence here into an algebraic expression. Its length is 3 metres more than its width. Its length, so the length is 3 metres more than the width. So this length is 3 metres more than this width. So now putting all this together, the area, which is length times width, now becomes length times width. So by doing this, it's like our work with simultaneous equations. I've eliminated one of the variables. The L has now been replaced with 3 plus W. Now let's put some algebraic skills into this. I'm going to multiply. This is the same as writing W outside of W plus 3. Expanding the brackets. I now have that. Now all of our work on solving quadratics involves having a 0 here. We need to have the 0 so that we can use the null factor law. So what I'll do is I'll move the 28 over to the other side. W squared plus 3W, take the 28, now gives me a 0. Just going to make some room for myself here. Okay. So I have W squared plus 3W minus 28 equals 0. Quadratic trinomial, the easiest way to solve this is, can I get factors of 28 that add to 3? So I have 4 times 7 equals 28. If I make this a minus and the 7 a plus, I'm going to get a plus 3. So my brackets become W minus 4, W plus 7 equals 0. Null factor law is telling me therefore W is either positive 4 or minus 7. Since mathematically it makes sense that I've got two values, but because of the context of our story where this is the width, my width is a side length, so it has to be bigger than 0. So it follows that I'm only going to look at the width being 4. I can discount this one because I can't have a negative width. Okay, we've nearly finished the question. Go back and check. Find the dimensions of the rectangle. So I know my width is 4 metres, but I also know that the length is 3 more than the width. So the length is 3 plus 4, the length is 7 metres. So I know width equals 4 metres, length equals 7 metres. Make sure you go back and explicitly answer the question. Don't just put W equals 4. Because it's asking you to find the dimensions, it's a worded question, give a worded answer. Let's have a look at another one. Find the height and base lengths of a triangle that has an area of 7 and a height of 5 less than its base. Let's draw up a triangle. I don't really know what sort of triangle. It doesn't really matter. I know that I've got a height, and I know that I have a base, and I know that the area, which is half base times height, has to be 7. The other piece of information I have here is that the height is 5 less than the base. So the height is 5 less than the base. So I'll write it out as that. Let's substitute in what we know. So the area, which is a half base times height, now becomes a half base times the height, which I know is b take 5, and that has to equal 7. This half here doesn't look very nice, so I'm going to get rid of it. I'm going to multiply everything by 2. If I multiply this whole lot here by 2, by multiplying a half by 2 I get 1, and I'm just left with b outside of b take 5, and 7 times 2 is 14. Expanding the brackets, I'm going to have b squared take 5b equals 14, and then putting everything over onto the left hand side, minus 14 equals 0. So now I need factors of minus 14 that add to minus 5. I'm going to have 2 and 7. 2 and 7 make 14. I need to have a plus 2 and a minus 7 so that I end up here at minus 5. So my brackets become b plus 2, b take 7 equals 0. My null factor law now is telling me that b plus 2 equals 0 or b take 7 equals 0. So b is either minus 2 or b is plus 7. Since b is the base, I know it's got to be bigger than 0. So since b is bigger than 0, it follows that my b has to be equal to 7. I can discount that one because it's a negative number. I can't have a base that's negative 2 in length. Find the height and the base is the question. So I've found the base. I now need to go back and substitute to find my height. I know that the height is the base take 5. So the height is going to be 7 take 5, which is 2. So finishing off, I know base equals 7 metres, height equals 2 metres. So I've answered the question with a worded response. That's how we would do applications.